in the US to help communities. I've been defending tenants from illegal evictions in the pandemic with my tenants unit in Dublin. What the fuck? Do we even have a tenant? Is that a thing that we have in America? What? What the fuck is a tenant union?
I can't believe Hasan doesn't know what a tenant union is.
Maybe we do. I didn't even know that that was a thing in the US to help.
And, well, there is no national tenants union. There's a few associations, but not for tenants, only for landlords. Alright, bruv. Across the bloody pond. No, honestly, in the UK, they do have much stronger tenant unions. It's a pretty well-known thing, but not here in the United States. It's not something that tends to be very well known. It's not it's not as prominent as tenant unions elsewhere. That's what I mean. Was that more? Okay, so wait a minute. Okay, so if you've been around for a while, then you know the lore around tenant unions. We were watching. Okay, so one day we just did an entire stream on tenant unions, and we watched a video. I think it was in Ireland. I'm pretty sure it was in Ireland, and the subtitles kept on calling tenants union 10-inch unions. So now it's like a running joke. We call tenants unions 10-inch unions here around these parts. Sorry. All right. Anyway. Aye, G-Gen Captain. Oh my god, hold on. Where is it? We have an entire channel in here for, no, not organizing. Is it organizing? Tenants. No, not organizing tenant protections. Tenant Union Toolkit. Okay, Tenant Union Toolkit. Tenant Union Toolkit. Where is it? Oh, hell yeah, here it is. We're watching this.
Deficit in social housing, soaring rents, and landlords charging illegal fees all leads to people being priced out of their neighbourhoods. In this precarious arena, many renters put up with substandard conditions for fear of losing their homes. But there is an
alternative. Oh, it's Scotland. I'm sorry.
Living rent
Scotland.
Scotland's tenants union.
So yeah, I'm from a Living Rent Scotland Tenants Union. We had to talk to tenants in the area about their renting situation. No. Building tenant power. So first, we should go first.
What is a tenants union and how does it work?
Well, that's a good question. Again, you would join that trade union in your workplace if you're aware of trade unions and aware of obviously the victories they've had for people in improving their own conditions from the workplace. Now, we're seeing landlords and letting agents and the people who own property basically are getting more and more power every year, every month. They lobby government, they lobby local authorities. They've got a lot of power in their own side. So to redress that power, we need a union that tackles housing, and this is why we need a tenants union as a whole to start fighting back against this imbalance of power. And the only way to do that is to organise and fight back as tenants collectively.
The Grenfell fire really affected me in the aftermath, and side by side, Grenfell and so many other housing struggles in the UK, there's this amazing idea of a tenants union that's building in different parts of the UK.
Often landlords and letting agents that we face haven't used direct collective action.
So obviously in the UK, there's a much larger and broader network of tenant unions, right, that are working to combat against the political agency that homeowners and landlords tend to have with their own associations, right? As mentioned in the beginning of this video, landlords have a lot more power that they wield in their advantage. They lobby directly with the government. They have been given special tax breaks, special circumstances. The power that they use has led to even larger imbalances between a landlord and a tenant. And so to counteract this imbalance of power, tenants have banded together. They have organized tenant unions based on, building tenant power, building community power, and it's just a little bit more ever present in the UK than it is in the United States. All right.
The idea of the workshops was to give people an introduction to the different action teams which we're trying to build for the year ahead. The member defence gets a lot of work from Glasgow's many abused tenants. They're the first port of call for a lot of new members who are struggling with housing issues, and the role of the member defence team is to support those people to help them fight their own cases. We adopt 5 different roles, all with different remits to make sure that the landlord or corporate letting agent doesn't stray from our demands. It's a way of making sure that demands are clear, but also empowering the tenant who might feel often harassed by the letting agent or landlord. When they feel that they've got the strength of 4 other people behind them, that's an incredible feeling to have. We had today at the AGM testimony.
Is this a YouTube video?
Amye,
Yes.
who we've supported in her fight.
It is an amazing YouTube video.
Workshop where we did a role play on how to use this strategy. So that's just sort of testament to the empowerment element of that strategy.
Hi, my name's Ines, and I'm going to be alongside Living Rent, just knocking on people's doors in Govan to tell them about the work our union has been doing. Demanding on people's behalf that letting agents and landlords give back the illegal fees that they've been charging tenants for too long.
I really like the idea of community resistance and being able to I think it's really easy, especially among youth, to think that we're just really isolated and alone and that we don't have any power. So I think you find that sense of community in university society sometimes, but it is really cool to see that it exists outside of the uni.
When we go and chap up neighbourhoods, chap up doors, as many organisations would, and ask people there themselves in their own neighbourhood what
I like this because it really just shows how grassroots organizing works, right? This is just ground game in action, and this is how it's done. This is a very good informative video. I know, with our comrades from across the bloody pond.
Hi, I'm from Living Rent, from the Tenants Union. I'd like to speak with people in the block that are like tenants. Usually somebody lets you in, right? And then you go in. Half of the door there might not be somebody. Some of them might be busy, like you don't know.
We did a workshop which was a power structure analysis, which is talking about all the different groups that are involved in the issue. So in this case, illegal fees. So you're talking about the press, you're talking about the city council, you're talking about bodies representing letting agents, you're talking about letting agents themselves, how we can get all these different groups, sort of analyse how much power they have, how much influence they have over the situation, and how we can basically take their influence and use it for ours, or the challenges we might come up against.
Is there anything like this in the United States? No.
More empowerment for
not,
members
not
themselves.
to this degree. And even in the UK, it's not as widespread of a movement in comparison to landlord associations, right? It's just we have spent the time to find these videos of these tenant unions working to empower communities, and they might have a little bit more pull in the grand scheme of things of UK politics, but we don't have anything that would resemble a similar. Well, we do. It's just I'm not sure about the proportion of power, if it would be comparable to what has been established in the UK, knowing that here in the United States, very similar conditions where the private housing market does have a lot of pull because it's a very lucrative industry, and the government has offset their responsibility to offer housing to the private sector, right? And that does by way of, or by virtue of relying heavily on private market forces to offer housing, that gives way more power to a landlord than it does a tenant. And I think that we are starting to see a shift in tenant power, in the way that tenants are rising up and organizing. We have seen a new wave of rental strikes because of COVID-19, and we have seen more tenant unions organizing right now in real time. But I do think that we're a few steps behind the UK, right? We're now just learning about the power of tenant unions here in this country, in many respects. They've been around for a really long time too.
So they can actually realise the power they've got and what they can do organising. And it doesn't have to be the union, and it isn't the union saying, right, you have to organise this way, you have to do this. No, this is about showing our members and educate them what their actual rights are, what they can do to improve it, map out what their situation is, who the people are of influence in that situation, and what they can practically do to get from that position of having no power to having power.
A lot of tenants in this area that are unhappy with the amount they're having to pay.
Yeah, it's just insane.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, I'm spending like 30% of my... I guess the first thing is like remind them that it's okay to be angry. They're allowed to be angry. They're allowed to expect decent housing. Then it's about showing that they're not alone and that we can solve it and we have solved it, and so that there is solutions. So it's like people will often feel powerless or like really alone, and it's just trying to show that no, we can do that together, and we have done it.
I think one of the really good things is that before we ever go into things, we always do a practice run, and I find that really useful. Can sometimes lack a bit in confidence, but if you've actually gone through things and worked out what you're going to do if the landlord says this, or if she says that, or what if she does that, so we think through it, and that kind of training I think is really useful. It's been helpful, and I've built a lot of confidence as a result of it.
What about, I mean, what does living rent ultimately want to turn into in Scotland? If living rent could be somewhere in 5 years' time, where would you like it to be?
I want to see us become the biggest, most powerful tenants union in the country. I want to see houses built because living rent has put much pressure on the government and local authorities. I want to see near enough every social letting tenant in the city, any tenant in the city, any tenant across the country join living rent and have that protection of knowing that there's a militant union out there that has got your back and will not take no for an answer from a landlord or a letting agent.
Hell yeah. Okay, pizza's ordered. Phew.